We all look up at the sky now and then, but let's be real, most of us have no idea what we're actually looking at. Like, can you name cloud types on sight? Or are you sure you can spot the difference between a star and a planet when they both just look like tiny glowing dots? The sky is a cosmic mystery box, and in this video we're diving into the wildest enigmas ever spotted up there. Number 15. Cloud burst over Costa Rica. On Costa Rica's Independence Day in 2015, people in places like Hatillo, Pavas, and San Jose were celebrating when the sky lit up with something that felt straight out of a dream or an apocalypse, depending on who you asked. The clouds shimmered with intense rainbow colors, like someone had poured oil across the heavens. Social media exploded, just like always. Some thought it was divine. Others were convinced it was the end of times. But the truth? Well, it's very simple. It was a perfect storm for a rare kind of visual called cloud iridescence. These vivid displays happen when sunlight hits tiny water droplets or ice crystals in clouds at just the right angle. It refracts and splits the light, creating color patterns that look unreal. While similar to the nacreous clouds seen in colder regions, these were lower altitude and warmer weather counterparts. Still, timing is everything. Catching this show during a national celebration made it unforgettable. It's a reminder that nature doesn't need a reason to go full masterpiece mode. Number 14. Spiral in the sky. Early one morning in 2009, Norwegians stared at the sky in disbelief as a giant white spiral twisted above them, anchored by a blue streak that pierced across the horizon. It looked unreal, like a wormhole cracking open the atmosphere. Phones came out, news spread fast, and for a while nobody knew what to believe. Alien theories flooded forums, but the truth was surprisingly grounded. Russia had launched a Bulava ballistic missile for a test, and it didn't go as planned. A malfunction caused it to spin out of control mid-air, releasing exhaust in a spiral pattern before tumbling back down, leaving that eerie blue trail behind. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the failed launch and owned up to the moment. It marked the 6th failure out of 13 tries for the Bulava series, but this one stood out. No other mishap had painted the sky with something so vivid and unsettling. Even in a country used to the northern lights, this felt like another world breaking in. And it was not worse than the mushroom cloud made by nuclear stuff. Number 13. The Dementor over Zambia. Back in 2017, a photo snapped in Kitwe, Zambia, made the internet collectively pause, and why not? Floating in the sky was what looked like a massive, shadowy humanoid figure, arms outstretched, trailing like a cloak. It resembled something out of the Harry Potter universe, and many couldn't help but compare it to a Dementor. The figure appeared to hover in place for nearly half an hour, long enough to cause a stir. But here's the thing, no other credible photos of it surfaced. And given how fast people snap and share these days, that's a red flag. Most likely it was either a digitally altered image or a cleverly staged balloon setup. Still, clouds often form shapes that mimic familiar outlines, faces, animals, and in this case nightmares. Whether a hoax or odd weather moment, the image got under people's skin because it played into something primal, seeing human-like figures where there shouldn't be any. Real or not, this one made people look twice and wonder hard. So we say just one thing: don't believe anything you see or search on the internet. Well, who knows? What's truth or what's fiction? Number 12. Strange cloud. Southern California rang in 2017 with something that had half the neighborhood craning its necks, a massive ring-shaped cloud just floating like it owned the sky. Dead center was a wide, clean gap, almost like someone punched a hole straight through it. Locals stared, speculated, and yeah, some were absolutely convinced it was a wormhole. But sadly, it was not what they were thinking. There's actual science behind it. These rare formations are known as fall streak holes. When temperatures up there drop below freezing, but the water droplets haven't yet frozen, even the tiniest trigger, like an aircraft, can cause those droplets to crystallize rapidly. That sudden shift pulls moisture down in the form of rain or ice, leaving a hollowed-out center. These clouds are more common near coastlines, but seeing one this defined is still rare. Naturally, UFO enthusiasts lost it. To them, it was a portal. To meteorologists, it's a quirky side effect of physics. Well, either way, it's one of those sky moments that you don't just forget. Number 11. Meteor cloud over California. When the night sky over California lit up in 2018, people immediately reached for their phones. A glowing spiral trailed by a twisting streak looked like it belonged in a sci-fi poster. Some guessed it was from a SpaceX launch or the nearby Vandenberg Air Force Base. But both had scrubbed their launches that night due to weather delays. The confusion didn't last long. The next day, experts confirmed the phenomenon was caused by a meteor. Though the rock was tiny, likely small enough to fit in your hand, it packed enough energy to compress air as it plummeted, creating noctilucent clouds in its wake. These high-altitude clouds catch and reflect sunlight long after sunset, making the sky glow in surreal patterns. It was a blink-and-you-miss-it moment, but unforgettable for those who caught it. When nature drops something like that out of nowhere, you realize how much drama the sky can deliver. No spacecraft or sci-fi is required. Number 10. Northern Lights in Scotland. Well, now, this one is totally strange and weird. Everyone knows the Northern Lights are a vibe, those hypnotic color waves lighting up Arctic skies. Think Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. But in early 2016, people in Scotland were stunned when the sky above them started putting on a similar show. Many were convinced they were seeing the aurora borealis, but what they were witnessing was something even rarer: nacreous clouds, sometimes nicknamed mother-of-pearl clouds for their shimmering pastel hues. These clouds form in the lower stratosphere at altitudes around 70,000 feet, just after sunset during polar winters when the air gets brutally cold. The vivid colors come from sunlight scattering through ice crystals suspended in the high-altitude clouds. They're so delicate they vanish within minutes. Most people never see them in a lifetime. Scotland isn't exactly known for this phenomenon, which made the sighting even more surreal. For a few lucky onlookers, it was nature flexing in ways they didn't expect. Proof that sometimes even the skies above you can rewrite what you think is normal. Number 9. Blue lightning bolts, captured from ISS. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station caught something wild on camera in January 2021, bright blue lightning bolts firing upward through the atmosphere. Not a glitch, not a reflection. These bolts, known as blue jets or ELVs, shoot from the top of storm clouds and pierce into the stratosphere, way beyond what we see from the ground. Unlike regular lightning that slams downward, these travel miles into the sky in a flash that lasts less than a second. You wouldn't spot this from Earth even if you tried. From orbit, though, it's hard to miss. Scientists say they happen when electrical charges near the cloud's upper edges hit a negative layer of air above them. It's rare to catch them this clearly, and the footage gave researchers more insight into how lightning behaves at the very edge of space. Even with all our tech, there's still plenty we haven't mapped. These bolts are just one more reminder that Earth's sky isn't done surprising us. Number 8. Pillars of light. On a freezing February evening in 2021, residents across Nebraska looked up and froze, not just from the cold, but from what they saw: pillars of orange and red light stretching into the night like something from a dystopian movie. It wasn't camera tricks or movie props. These glowing towers were the result of a rare atmospheric setup. When the air is bitterly cold and eerily still, tiny ice crystals can hover in suspension instead of falling. In that moment, if enough crystals stack and light bounces through them, you get this vertical illusion, like glowing beams fired from the sky. These pillars aren't dangerous, but they're rarely seen. The temperature needs to dip below 10 degrees Fahrenheit with next to no wind. When all of those lines are up, even basic city lights can reflect in a way that turns the sky into a surreal light show. It didn't last long, but while it did, it made the ordinary streets of Nebraska feel like the center of something otherworldly. Number 7. Roll clouds. In June 2018, Memphis residents watched a massive cylindrical cloud creep across the sky like a horizontal tornado. Thick and stretched, it looked like it was rolling on an invisible axis across the horizon. No funnel, no chaos, just a long, creepy sky giant silently passing overhead. These are known as roll clouds, or more formally, Arcus clouds. They detach from thunderstorms and hover at low altitudes, usually right before or after a storm rolls through. The illusion of rotation makes them unsettling, especially in tornado-prone regions. But they're harmless. No reports of damage, no touchdowns, just a strange, quiet glide through the sky. What causes them is still weather 101, a clash of air masses, cool air rushing out from storms, warm air lifting behind it, and suddenly the sky draws a shape that freaks people out. They don't come around often, and when they do, they grab attention without causing chaos. Mother Nature, as usual, loves to flex. Number 6. Kelvin-Helmholtz clouds. Above Smith Mountain, Virginia, in June 2019, the clouds didn't just float, they curled, folded, and rolled like perfect ocean waves breaking midair. Photographer Amy Christie Hunter snapped them just in time, and her photos made it to local news stations. The formations, shaped like stacked curls, weren't edited or fake. Meteorologists confirmed these were Kelvin-Helmholtz clouds, one of the rarest and most distinct types out there. They only happen when fast upper air shears across slower-moving lower air, dragging pieces of cloud into smooth wave-like peaks. Pilots know them as bad news, since they signal turbulence at altitudes around 16,500 feet. Most people don't get to see these with such precision. That clean cresting effect is almost never this defined. Artists like Edvard Munch are even believed to have drawn inspiration from them. His iconic painting The Scream shows similar patterns in the sky. It's not every day the atmosphere decides to mimic the ocean, but when it does, it's unforgettable and beautiful. Number 5. The chain of lights in Arizona. A weird series of bright dots zipped across the Arizona sky in December 2020, lined up too perfectly to be random. They moved fast and stuck to a straight path long enough for hundreds to spot and record. Some thought it was military. Others leaned into the alien theories. Fort Drum wasn't far from where it all happened, but officials there quickly denied involvement. It wasn't until later that people started pointing fingers at SpaceX. Turns out Elon Musk's Starlink project had been launching strings of satellites into low Earth orbit about 180 miles up to expand global internet coverage. The lights weren't aliens, they were man-made, but not everyone bought that answer. What unsettled people most was how clean and synchronized the movement was. It felt off. Even with an explanation, the moment stuck. Something about artificial stars dragging across the sky made the whole scene feel like a preview of a very different kind of future. What do you think about it? Well, let us know. Alright, now let's move to number 4. The fiery lights of Sunnyburn. Now this is just super stunning. In the fall of 1919, Sunnyburn, Pennsylvania got more than the usual chilly breeze and crunching leaves. One night, after a few harmless flashes of sheet lightning, something else lit up the sky, a single fiery orb glowing like a headlight, suspended in total silence. It hovered for a moment, then burst apart into smaller lights before fading completely. Just 5 minutes later it repeated. Again and again like clockwork. Locals were baffled. Some blamed the nearby power plant, though it reported nothing out of the ordinary. Others believed it was a warning, maybe tied to the trauma of the First World War or some darker omen waiting to unfold. Oddly enough, reports of strange lights had been floating around since summer, but no one could make sense of them. No technology at the time matched what people saw. Decades later, the mystery still lingers. The fiery lights of Sunnyburn didn't just appear, they performed, vanished, and left behind whispers that turned into legend. Number 3. The Phantom Zeppelin of Sunbury. By 1916, the war in Europe had everyone on edge, and small-town America wasn't immune to the fear. So when a strange light drifted through the sky over Sunbury, Pennsylvania, people braced for the worst. To many, it looked exactly like a German Zeppelin silently scanning the land. Newspapers ran wild with it. Some articles sounded the alarm, while others couldn't help but poke fun. One even questioned why the Kaiser would bother with Sunbury over a major target. Fair point. But jokes aside, the sighting stirred something deep. Was it an early spy aircraft? A weather balloon no one admitted to? Or maybe just a classic case of panic catching fire under the shadow of war? Whatever the source, it didn't stick around, and no solid explanation ever came. The glow disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. What stayed behind was that uneasy memory of looking up, expecting an invasion, and being met with silence. The sky doesn't always offer answers, sometimes it just teases, just like how a lady teases. Number 2. Stunning Steve. In 2023, South Dakota's sky pulled off something that stopped people in their tracks. A bold, glowing violet streak stretched across the stars like a brushstroke of pure sci-fi. It wasn't the Northern Lights. This was something else. Scientists know it as Steve, short for Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement, but that label doesn't even scratch the surface. Unlike auroras that ripple and shift, Steve stays still, a rigid beam of charged plasma flowing along Earth's magnetic field during high solar activity. It forms closer to the equator than typical auroras and glows with intense purples and greens, sometimes even showing eerie vertical lines like a glowing fence. It lasts longer, it looks sharper, and it's still not fully understood. Scientists are studying it hard, trying to figure out what exactly causes it and why it shows up where it does. But even with the research, seeing Steve in real life hits differently. It's like the atmosphere breaking its own rules and deciding to flex. Number 1. Pancake clouds. Flying saucers above the Bay Area? Not exactly, but for a moment in May 2021, it looked like a full-on alien parade. Dozens of round, layered clouds hovered in place, perfectly shaped and unusually metallic in color. People described them as stacks of pancakes and couldn't shake the UFO comparisons. But it wasn't a sci-fi scenario, it was just the weather doing something weird. These were alto-cumulus lenticular clouds, the kind that form when strong winds hit obstacles like mountain ranges or canyons and start swirling vertically. The unique airflow sculpts clouds into these disc-like forms, which hold still even while wind rips past. California's terrain is perfect for them, but that doesn't make sightings like this any less bizarre. Their symmetry, color, and motionless presence made it feel like something was floating with purpose. It's easy to see why the internet couldn't stop sharing the photos. After all, you don't need aliens when nature's cloud game is this eerie. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll see you very soon.